A Nintendo Direct has been announced for this Thursday, tomorrow at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. I don't remember off the top of my head. What are you talking about? I didn't record this the night before. I'm just a really fast editor. But yes, the rumors were true. A Nintendo Direct is happening, this being the July Direct. This is literally the last day of July, and they're pulling the Summer Direct on us. I don't want to bore you with these details. I want to get right into my predictions. And if you know me, you know that I am just repping the Samus, repping the Metroid up in here. So I'm just going to get my Metroid Prime 4 prediction out of the way. We are definitely going to be seeing a Metroid Prime 4 release date in this Direct. We're also going to be seeing release dates, of course, for the rest of Nintendo's 2025 slate. So this really isn't a surprise that we're getting a date for this game. And for this, I have two predictions for what this date could be. I have an optimistic date and a pessimistic or realistic date. I don't really know what is realistic at this point, but I feel like the absolute soonest Metroid Prime 4 could come out is September 25th, because that gives them about 2 months to advertise the game pre-launch, and of course they're still going to advertise it post-launch as well to get those Black Friday sales. But then of course there is the more realistic date, which I think could be November 13th. I think that's right before the cutoff of the Game Awards, so you could say this is kind of my optimistic, pessimistic prediction. It could sync to next week on November 20th, but I feel like this still puts itself in a good position to be the big holiday title for the Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch. It's just a great win, and I feel like Metroid Prime 4 needs to be placed as the big holiday title because the development of this game was long and tumultuous. I plan on making an entire video about that soon, and Nintendo needs to ensure that it sells well in order to justify its really long and expensive development time. I definitely know for sure that Metroid Prime 4 is not getting delayed to 2026. It just can't happen because the game was just recently rated in Korea, and it was also rated in Europe, as we could tell by that billboard that said out now, because the game is apparently out now. So I really think this game is still going to be slated for this year. It's not getting pushed to next year, and it's going to come out either September or November. I guess you could make a case for October, even though in that month Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out, and Pokemon is a really big franchise. Yes, it's like the biggest media franchise of all time, but the general audiences of Pokemon and Metroid aren't really at odds with each other. Like, they're completely separate audiences. There are fans of both, as I've seen in the Nintendo community, but it's possible that Metroid Prime 4 wouldn't get hurt that much by Legends ZA sales, especially if it comes out maybe 2 weeks before or after that game. But do I have any predictions for what the trailer is going to contain, what kind of footage we will see of Metroid Prime 4? At this point, I don't care. Just don't show me too much of the game before it comes out. They did a really bad job of that with Metroid Dread by showing us every single location in the Metroid Dread reports. They might have removed 1 or 2 locations, I'm not sure, but what I really care about is just that release date. You don't even have to show me a trailer, just show me the release date. Of course they're going to show one in this Direct. They have to. Especially because the last few times we've seen this game in Nintendo Directs, they haven't really been strong showcases. So maybe this is their chance to give a sort of big major trailer for this game before it launches in the next few months. But an announcement I want to see coincide with the Metroid Prime 4 release date is finally the existence of Metroid Primes 2 and 3 coming to Switch/Switch 2. And in this case, I believe it's finally going to happen much like it did right before Pikmin 4 launched in 2023. They announced that Pikmin 1 and 2 would be coming to Switch literally that day, available digitally, with a physical version released a week later, and I feel like the exact same thing is going to happen in this Nintendo Direct. They're going to announce a pack-in deal, Metroid Prime 2 and 3 in HD, or I guess 4K on Switch 2, and yeah, they're not going to be as remastered as Metroid Prime Remastered was, which I know a lot of people don't want to hear, but I feel like at this point, that's just what's going to happen. They're going to just be HD upscaled versions of those two games, and you know what? I'd be perfectly okay with that, because I feel like these games should be experienced before you jump into Metroid Prime 4. I feel like they're not as required though. Like, I think Prime 4 is going to be like more or less, it's going to start a new story arc, but I know there's going to be a lot of people who are intimidated by that number 4 on the box and think they have to play Metroid Primes 1, 2, and 3 before jumping in, and that's the point of these two games coming out on the Switch family of systems. systems is to catch those people up and, you know, ease their nerves before jumping into a brand new Metroid Prime game. And I guess you could release Prime 2 on the GameCube Switch Online thing, but it's the controls, man, those tank controls. A lot of people are going to try that out and they're going to be like, nope, and turn it off. So I think it's very important that those get updated controls and slightly updated visuals for the Switch family of systems. But moving aside from the Metroid predictions, I'll admit I did have trouble figuring out other predictions because the only game I freaking care about right now is Metroid Prime 4, but instead I want to talk about the games we know are coming to the Switch/Switch 2. There's of course Pokemon Legends ZA. We just had a presentation about that, so we're probably not going to see much of it here in this Nintendo Direct. But the big question I have is, when is Kirby Air Riders coming out, and what does that game look like? I predict this will be a show opener, meaning like it's going to be the first game we see right after that Nintendo Direct logo shows up, and who else is going to be there but the director Masahiro Sakurai himself, talking about the gameplay mechanics of Kirby Air Riders, what separates this from its original game. And speaking of that, we're going to see the original game on GameCube NSO, because why not? Like, catch those people up on what Kirby Air Riders is all about before that highly anticipated sequel comes out this year. Or next year. It might get delayed to next year, I'm going to be honest. When I saw that trailer during the Switch 2 Direct and I saw that it ended with a 2025 release window, I was like, that's not going to happen. Although I've been wrong before. The last time Sakurai made a game that got delayed, it was Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I don't think Kid Icarus Uprising got delayed, I could be wrong about that, but then he somehow made the release date for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, and he even made the release date for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so I don't know, he's a really efficient developer. I mean, he's been developing games since he was, what, 17 years old? He really knows what he's doing in this regard, and we also know he overworks himself a lot, although I heard he, like, was basically forced by Nintendo to take some breaks during the Smash Bros. Ultimate development period. So, I don't know, I could see this game coming out in December of this year, because Smash Bros. Ultimate came out in December, which is probably just a case of this is like the absolute last day we could have this game come out before just making our investors mad. So maybe this will be the same thing for Kirby Air Riders. I don't really have any game-specific predictions for Kirby Air Riders. I've barely even played the original game. I've only played it at friends' houses back when I was in grade school, so I don't know. Hopefully Kirby Air Riders is really good. I mean, with Masahiro Sakurai in the director's chair, it's gotta be good. But another game we have slated for this year is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, and yes, this year. I know the trailer said this winter, which could, you know, move over into early 2026, but assuming it does come out this year, I really can't think of any other month to release it in than November. And I also just said that this could be a month for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, but I don't know. Could Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment land in September? I mean, I guess it's possible, but I don't know. Age of Calamity came out in November 2020, and I know that doesn't exactly mean that the next game is destined to come out that same month or anything, but you know, if the game did well in November, and maybe Nintendo wants to kind of repeat that success, maybe Metroid and Hyrule Warriors come out in November, because those are two games that I definitely feel like won't have like any conflict of interest with each other, given that they're in completely separate genres. But this is another game I don't really have any major expectations for. I like that it's actually canon to the timeline, unlike Age of Calamity, which really just pissed me off. I wanted to see all of them die at the end. That was just, that timeline stuff, multiverse crap, that was just so irritating. Now that I mentioned it though, I would love to see a Switch 2 upgrade for Age of Calamity on Switch 2, give us those sweet 4K visuals at 60 frames per second. Maybe not native 4K, I'm sure that game is really tough to run at native 4K 60 FPS, but I just want to go back and maybe play Age of Calamity at that just smooth frame rate. It already runs at a stable 30 on Switch 2, which is appreciated, but it's a Musou game. You gotta play those games at 60 or bust. I do want to see in this Direct, and now that I bring it up, I really hope that they make a point to show some upgrades for these games, some new upgrades that we haven't really seen before, like maybe enhance Metroid Prime Remastered before Prime 4 comes out, give it 4K visuals and those mouse controls, baby, as well as maybe some other games like Luigi's Mansion 3 at a full 4K 60 FPS. I could just name games left and right on what could get enhancements. every Switch 1 game should get enhancements, even the third-party games. Oh, I forgot about another first-party game, Splatoon Raiders. I forget this game exists because it was just randomly announced in June, and it's a Splatoon spin-off game. I don't know if there's like a full online component or if it's mostly single player. I didn't really look into this game too much before recording this predictions video this morning on Wednesday, July 30th. I swear I did not record this last night, but apparently there's been leaks that this game is slated for a 2025 release, which kind of surprises me. I was expecting this to be an early 2026 game. Again, such a weird announcement. If it is coming out so soon, why didn't Nintendo just give us that date in that initial trailer, and why not even just save it for this upcoming direct? Nintendo marketing is so strange to me. It hardly ever makes sense. But for Splatoon Raiders, for me, it's tough to like figure out where this game could possibly drop. If it really is like a small spin-off game that doesn't even cost like full price or anything, maybe they could sneak it into the August or early September time frame. I don't think it makes sense as a big holiday title. I've seen some people on Twitter say that it could be a big holiday title. I just don't see it that way. Splatoon's always done best in like the summer, like, or early fall time frame, because, you know, it's a shiny game with squid kids, whatever they're called. But yeah, I'd be interested to see where Splatoon Raiders is going to be fitting into Nintendo's upcoming release schedule. We also saw some big games during the last Nintendo Direct, the one in March, the one that randomly dropped a week before the Switch 2 one. Very strange decision. Again, Nintendo's making some very strange decisions this year. We got a reveal of Rhythm Heaven Back in the Groove, I think it was called, or Rhythm Heaven in the Groove, and that's going to be a big 2026 game. Maybe not huge, but Rhythm Heaven has its fan base, and they're going to freak out when they get their hands on this game. And of course, the big one being the new Tomodachi Life game coming out next year as well. Maybe we'll see these mentioned in the Nintendo Direct. I don't see them getting like big dedicated sections. Of course, they got to do another Tomodachi Life Direct on its own, similar to the kind that they gave in 2014. I'm excited for this game. I didn't touch Tomodachi Life back when it came out on 3DS, and I really regret that. It was such a weird time to be a Nintendo fan, but also a very wholesome time to be a Nintendo fan. And to see some of that come back in the upcoming year of our Lord 2026, it excites me. And, you know, I'll make up for all that lost time I didn't spend with Tomodachi Life back then. But before I get to like the final big prediction, the one more thing I think is going to happen, I want to talk about some third-party stuff I hope to see on Switch 2, maybe shown off in this Direct. For one, that Elden Ring release date. Where is that? It's got to be coming out pretty soon here, I'd imagine. And then there's Lies of P, which is going to be a new like free game on PlayStation Plus next month. There's something in the air that makes me think that they're gearing up for a Switch 2 port of some kind. I don't know. It seems like the developer / publisher is trying to really get this game into the hands of more people. But of course, the big one I think should really be coming to Switch 2 is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I know this game is going to be coming out on Switch 2 at some point. I don't know if the studio got their hands on a Switch 2 dev kit. I know Nintendo's been rather stingy about giving out those dev kits so far, so maybe we won't see that for a long time on Switch 2, although I would love to be wrong, and I'd love to play this game again on that portable machine. And you know, some random ones that came up in my head are Gears of War Reloaded. Maybe we'll see something for that. I don't think it's going to come out day and date on the other platforms because it's coming out on PS5, not just Xbox, fun fact, but it'd be cool. Maybe this could be one of the first Xbox games making its way over to Nintendo platforms. But speaking of Microsoft / Activision Blizzard, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 being the big new return to Call of Duty on Nintendo platforms. Maybe that's coming to Switch too. I mean, the game is coming to PS4 and Xbox One, for corn's sakes. You gotta think it's gonna be making its way to Switch 2 at some point, maybe day and date with the other platforms, perhaps. At the very least, I'll gladly accept like one of the other recent Call of Duties on Switch 2, maybe to test the waters, see how it does. Can you imagine the file sizes on Switch 2? I just remembered those games are like 200 gigabytes because God forbid you compress files. But yeah, I don't really have any major predictions for new games. One, because Metroid is just on my brain. If you don't know me, then you don't understand how much I have been badly waiting for this game for the past 8 years since it's been announced. They announced this game 8 years ago. That's insane, and the wait is finally coming to an end. And I would love it to be like the last last thing they show in the Nintendo Direct. Give us an epic Tears of the Kingdom-like trailer to really just drive home the point that this is Metroid Prime 4. This is a big deal for Nintendo and the Switch/Switch 2. But here's the thing though, Nintendo Directs often end with games that we haven't heard of before. With the exception of Tears of the Kingdom, they ended 3 Nintendo Directs with that game. Just insane, but understandable. But I feel like the big game they're going to end this Nintendo Direct with is one that's been rumored, I believe, by Beat 'em Up's Woods source, correct me if I'm wrong, the next Animal Crossing. I feel like this is going to be the game to close the show. I kind of hope I'm wrong in that regard, just simply because I'd love for it to be a game that I'm not anticipating, but a new Animal Crossing makes sense, and New Horizons just made a boatload of money coming out on the Switch one, and it made it fast too, probably because back when it came out, people were just trapped at home with nothing to do, so that really helped its sales, because this is a game that would definitely move its systems fast, especially if they release an Animal Crossing bundle. Apparently, this new Animal Crossing game is going to feature cities and vehicles and driving. Can we just go back to New Leaf, please? Like, you know, those kinds of games where they don't give you like every single customization option right off the bat. You gotta earn them slowly over time. That was when Animal Crossing was superior to me. I didn't love New Horizons. It was a good game, but I was kind of like, I want to play New Leaf again. Can we just go back to New Leaf? Maybe I'm just overly nostalgic for that game. I'm not quite sure. But those are my predictions for tomorrow's Nintendo Direct. Again, Metroid Prime 4 release date. You just gotta give it to me, Nintendo. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your predictions are in the comment section down below. And I gotta thank my beautiful Ferris Wheel members for supporting me and my channel. If you want to become a member to get access to some of my uploads early, then be sure to click that join button down below. But I will see you all tomorrow as I live stream the Nintendo Direct. Bye-bye.